guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications so that you never miss a video. Today, I'm going to be talking about working in regulatory affairs in 2016 versus today, 2021, and what the environment is like, what the culture is like, what the work-life balance is like. A lot of people have asked me what it actually feels like, what the working with people feels like in regulatory, and I've never actually spoken about it, but I think it's a great suggestion. So thank you to the person who made the suggestion in the comments. Make sure you guys stick around and watch the entire video. On my phone as I do before a lot of these videos to make sure that I'm saying exactly what all my thoughts. So the first thing that I want to talk about is what working in regulatory affairs in 2016 felt like for me. And honestly, it was very toxic. What I found was that a lot of people sabotage my efforts or sabotage other people to make sure that they were like the shining golden star. I think because it was earlier in my career, everyone was like new college grads, or they had graduated college like 3-4 years ago, and they were like just getting their footing in the industry, that they were trying to prove that they were either eligible for a promotion or they were eligible for the next title level, raise, whatever. For me, I kind of just jumped in and was just trying to do my job, but it was so toxic. It was so toxic. I remember one coworker snitched on somebody else because at the time we were allowed to work 2 days at home and then 3 days we had to be in the office. And my home was about an hour and 15 minutes away from the site. And a lot of people didn't live near the site, so it was kind of far. But I remember someone told on someone for not being on site like all 3 days. They were only on site 2 days that week or something. And normally you would think that, why are you gonna tell on someone? Like that could ruin it for everybody. But that person ended up getting in trouble, and later on they ended up getting fired because based on that one incident, they started watching that person a lot more closely. I guess it came to about that no one knew, or that he didn't know what he was actually doing in his job function, whatever. But yes, it was very cutthroat, very toxic. There were people who would like conceal information from me at other jobs so that it would be harder for me to find out the answer. There were people who would give me misinformation, and then in meetings that would look stupid. So what I learned is kind of at that time was to just help other people when I could, but to always focus on making sure that I looked like I knew what I was doing and that I was capable and smart, essentially. Yeah, I don't know, in 2016, it was really just a time when everyone was trying to prove themselves. And I think sometimes like, it's like that in tech right now. I hear a lot of like, I hear some cutthroat stories. I don't know if because the workforce is shifting from like the older generation to younger people, if younger people are just like not being as toxic, I don't really know. But back then, it was extremely toxic. I used to go home and read FDA guidances just because people would give me so much misinformation that I wanted to confirm what these people were telling me before I went into a meeting and made myself look like a fool trusting another person. And I think that was just me being young as well, because I used to trust my coworkers like nobody's business, and now I don't trust anybody. I have friends who are from work, but I don't trust too much. And I think because the current industry is shifting less from people with just bachelor's degrees and more with people with their master's or their PharmD or their PhD. And you have so many, and I'm gonna make another video about this, you have so many pharmacists leaving retail and wanting to come into industry, and they are hungry, okay? They are determined to stay in industry. They are determined to get into regulatory affairs. So I think it's more competitive now among the PharmDs and the masters and the people trying to break in, which essentially what was happening to me. That's, you know, my entry-level regulatory affairs. So maybe that's what it is. Entry-level regulatory affairs is toxic, okay? At this level that I'm at, associate director, director, it's not as toxic. I honestly have a lot of peace. Nobody really bothers me. It's not cutthroat. All the strategists among me at this level are all willing to help each other, all willing to share information. I get emails all the time from coworkers just saying, just read this guidance, thought it might be interesting. We have regulatory strategy meetings. I mean, I call old coworkers and colleagues of mine who are strategists as well, and we all talk about like what's going on in the industry and like how to help each other. People come to me with jobs before they're even posted. So at this current level, I am not stressed. It's not toxic at all. I think the one toxic thing I will say is people will make you feel like you're not working hard because you're not working 70 hours a week. So you might, as you like move up in regulatory affairs, you will find that a lot of people will be like, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed, I'm working 75 hours a week. And you're sitting there like, how do you manage your time? Seriously, like, how do you manage your time? There's no reason you should be working 70 hours a week. Also, boundaries. But then, you know, you don't want to obviously say that because there's this weird stigma in regulatory affairs that regulatory people, they eat, sleep, and breathe product approvals. They don't do anything but work. They have no life. They don't do anything outside of their regulatory work. They're working nonstop, which is true. Like, people do work. There are times where you are working nonstop and you're preparing for a meeting or you're preparing for a huge submission. Rightfully so. But all year around the clock, I'm not gonna do that personally. But as you move up in regulatory, you might see that. And that's that one annoying thing, but I don't really pay it any mind. And there's other people who have the same thought process as me where they're like, yeah, I don't know why people say they work like 80 hours a week when they should balance their time better. But that's the one thing I don't like at this stage. Yeah, people are pretty friendly. Remote work is pretty accepted. I think like a lot of regulatory people are like banding together to just quit all jobs that require them to work on site. Every person I've spoken to is meeting their companies with so much resistance where they're like, I literally will quit if you make me come to the office. And regulatory has always been remote. You know, I was remote before COVID. It's just one of those jobs that you don't need to be in the office to do. But I think a lot of other people in like the labs or manufacturing where they have to be on site kind of get irritated with regulatory and ClinOps because we don't have to be on site. So companies are trying to find a way to meet in the middle. But for the most part, the remote work, super chill. Like, I genuinely don't have many complaints about regulatory at this current stage. Like I said at the beginning of this video, regulatory entry level is toxic as hell. Toxic. I'm so glad I'm out of it because it's very clawing people's eyes out to get to the top, to get noticed, to get promoted, to even break into the industry. But then at the mid-senior to executive level, everybody's just chilling. I've actually met so many regulatory people who are senior managers who are much older than me or just managers, and they're like, I have no desire to go beyond the manager, senior manager level. I have no desire to go beyond the associate director level, because once you get to director, senior vice president, that's when the real stress kicks in. That's when, I mean, but any executive job is going to be stressful. So I kind of feel like it just comes with the territory. And the more you move up in regulatory, the less toxic it gets in terms of other people trying to claw your eyes out to get to the top, if that makes sense. I think in regulatory, people get up and then they settle there. And a lot of people drop off as you go up. So I have colleagues that I've worked with who are still like managers, senior managers almost 3-4 years ago, and they're fine. They do not want to move up at all. So that's nice. The one thing I will say, I guess I don't like is the fact that it's a lot of baby boomers still in regulatory. There's not a lot of young people, at least. I always find myself being the youngest person at my level. I honestly find myself being the youngest person in every place I've been in regulatory. I've always been the youngest person. So I would say the lack of age diversity is something I don't like. When you are working with baby boomers, a lot of times they are stuck in their ways, they're rigid, what they say goes, and that's how it's supposed to be. I don't take any offense to it because I don't care. You want to do something your way, we'll do it your way. I don't like work conflict, so a lot of the times I will always speak my mind and why I feel things should be a certain way. If you agree, you agree. If you don't, you're the head of the department. So cheers to you for making that decision. And I think you have to have that kind of attitude in corporate America in general. If your name's not on the door, you can't come and kill yourself for like, I don't know, I just try not to get stressed out about that stuff. Maybe because I've worked with so many older people in regulatory that it just is what it is. But yeah, I would love to see more age diversity, you know, more people in their 20s, more college graduates, more non-PharmDs. Although I love the fact that PharmDs are entering the industry, I wish that a lot of people didn't have to feel like they had to get the PharmD just to enter the industry. I don't know, I would love just more 20-somethings, please. I would love to see more 20-somethings. Most people I work with are in their late 30s. I think that's the youngest I've ever seen, is like late 30s, mid to late 30s. But I'd love to see more people in their 20s having an opportunity in the industry, because I think the younger generation has so much to contribute. And yeah, baby boomers are just so archaic with their thinking and their thought process. I'm even surprised that they're adjusting to this remote working life, because so many people, so you'll find some companies will be like, oh, like, you know, if you don't work in the office, then it doesn't build that company rapport. Well, if you're working with a bunch of millennials and Generation Z, we can build rapport through a webcam, through FaceTime, through email, through chat, through text. We don't have to sit next to you face to face. We really don't. So yeah. I think overall, I would say anyone who's interested in entering regulatory affairs, just come in with a lot of grit and resilience, and hold your cards close to your chest. Don't tell too many people what your ambitions are in terms of moving up. That might, I don't know, I feel like people get cagey when you tell them how ambitious you are, because it's happened to me a lot. If you're in the mid to senior level, you know, you're free at that point. You're coasting, you're chilling. Once you get to like the manager, senior manager level, you're free to speak what your desires and ambitions are. And I think it's like a lot less toxic. If you work in regulatory affairs and your experience is different than what I'm saying, go ahead and put some comments down below. I'd love to hear what your experience has been. I have not worked in an office in like 3.5, 4 years. Oh my God, I literally haven't worked in an office in like 3.5, 4 years. So maybe working in an office in regulatory is toxic, but I think working from home for me has allowed for me to really have that work-life balance, and I separate the toxicity. So even if there's toxic stuff going on, maybe I just don't realize it's happening. Maybe this is just my experience. So I want to hear more from you guys. All right, I think that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. Oh, the one thing I did want to mention is that the pay is excellent. So maybe because the pay is excellent, it makes it less irritating to work in a toxic environment. I don't know, but again, I don't really have many toxic experiences outside of my entry-level work. So that's the last thing I wanted to add. Until my next video, guys, bye.